Hi, my name is Mike Sears. I'm the president and CEO of Sears Wealth Management and Insurance Solutions, and I'm delighted to take a few minutes to share with you a little bit about my story. I realize that many of you don't even know who I am, so I'd like to begin this segment by introducing myself. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I'm the oldest of four children. I had two wonderful parents. We loved the snow. I loved to play ice hockey and all the things we did as a boy. But some life-changing events happened when I was in my freshman year, actually in high school. I remember it was a weekday and the house was full of people. I should have been at school, and I couldn't figure out why the house was so full of people until my mother came in and she shared the sad story that my father had died the night before. He was only 39. Wow, that was a life-changing experience for all of us, mostly for my mother, but also for all of us. I think the most difficult part for my mother was now she had to provide for us. She married my father when she was a senior in high school. She never even graduated, so she didn't even have a high school graduation certificate. And somehow now she was faced with the daunting task of providing for four children. She did. And so now, little would I know at that age that I would end up becoming their financial advisor, mom's financial advisor later in her life. And as I've looked back on my life, I've thought, what a difference I could have made. What if mom and dad would have done just some basic planning, setting aside money for a rainy day, buying some basic life insurance for dad in case the catastrophic event that would happen, which did happen, and many other things, planning for their retirement. And so if you want to know what it is that drives me to do what I do each day, it's to help you to have an experience financially that you don't have to go through many of the hardships that my parents went through. It doesn't matter if you're 20 and just starting out, if you're in midlife and you're now starting to put things together, or you're just approaching retirement or even in retirement. Principles are principles, they're timeless, they work in every setting. And so what we're about to put together for you is to teach you a series of principles that will help you financially so that you'll be financially set and financially free for your future. I hope you'll enjoy this segment. Well, this is the first segment. When many people come into our office, I say we're going to teach some very basic principles. And a lot of the things that I'm about to teach you, I think most of you already know. But I've been teaching these principles for almost 30 years. And every time I reteach them and I hear them, they're inspiring to me. I've heard a lot of people say to me, I've heard that before, but I don't do it. Well, today I'm going to remind you of basic things of this. If you want to call this financial planning 101, this is 101. But I think you'll find it to be very, very interesting. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some very, very basic principles. So people are going to fall into one of two categories financially. There are those people who spend their money first and then try to save what's left. And then there is a very few people who save money first and then spend the rest. If you try to spend first and then save what's left normally? You're kind of laughing probably. The answer is nothing. There's nothing left because we can always find a place to spend something that we earn. Is that right? So if this is a true principle, our focus should be right here, that we want to save money first and then spend and then allocate the rest to our budget. So let's look at a budget for a minute, shall we? Okay, so we've already established that we need to save first and then we need to allocate the rest to our budget. So let's look at what a typical budget looks like, shall we? So let's just say, for an example, that you have $5,000 a month that's coming in the door each month through the income that you earn, right? And then underneath it, so this is what's coming in, and underneath this is all the various places that you spend your money each and every month. There's a lot more than what I have on the board, but you get the idea. Well, when we add up all the different places that we spend our money at the end of each month, at the bottom here we have a total. Now I'm going to give you a piece of really sound advice, which I know you already know. At the end of the day, when we get to a total, we know that this number must be what? It's got to be less than $5,000 a month, right? If I have $5,000 a month that's coming in the door each month, I've got to spend less than $5,000 a month. If I don't, I just created another circle, did I not? And that circle is called debt. If I try to take this savings and stick it down here, am I going to get there? I'm not going to get there. I'll have already spent the money before I get there. So principle number one is we need to save a portion of everything that we earn. And so savings belongs up here. And then we make adjustments so that we don't overspend. And the most difficult thing that most people are unwilling to do is to get in alignment the amount of money that they have coming in, with the amount of money that they have going out. Have you ever said this before? Well, I know I'm short this month, so I'll just use the credit card for the next 30 days and then I'll pay it off. Only to find out, did you pay it off? You didn't pay it off. If you overspend by $500 a month, 12 months in a row, you've just incurred $6,000 in debt in that year plus interest. Do it the next year, there's another $6,000. Now I'm $12,000 in debt in interest. Third year, I'm $18,000 in a hole. So this principle here is very important. We save first, but we have to live within our means and we have to spend less than the money we make every single month if we're going to get ahead financially. Okay, so this third segment that we're talking about now is the 4 circles of financial planning. And I learned this probably maybe 30 years ago from a guy by the name of John Savage, who is an MDRT great. And these principles are as timeless today as they were 30 years ago when I first learned them. So take some notes on this segment here. So my circles are actually getting not too much better, but here we go. In these 4 circles, we have, the first one is we have income, we have savings, the center circle is investments, and this last circle is insurance. And in another segment, we'll actually add a 5th circle, which is also amazing. And most of you are probably not familiar with this circle. It's called human life value. But your entire financial life is in these various circles. And they all have different, will have a different priority at different times, but all are important. And so in this next segment, we're going to talk about each one of these circles individually and see where they apply to you. Okay, so these 5 circles are the 5 circles of financial planning: income, savings, investment, insurance, and of course, human life value. As you look at these circles, in your mind, what is the urgent element in your financial plan? Obviously, I'm assuming that we all have sufficient income. If we don't have income, I know we're struggling. But I'm assuming in this presentation that you have at least some sufficient income. And so looking at the rest of the circles, what is the urgent element in your financial plan? And I would submit to you that that urgent element is savings. And I would also say it would be wonderful to have 1/3 of whatever your income is in savings. So let's just take very basic. Let's suppose that your income is $30,000. It doesn't matter if your income is $30,000 or $300,000. The principle is exactly the same. If you become a client of mine, I would urge you, if you became a client of mine, to say your first goal, if you haven't already achieved this, is $10,000 in savings. Why is that? The $10,000 in savings is your emergency fund. Because when emergencies happen, as they do, the roof starts leaking, the transmission goes out, the car goes out, and on and on and on, you're going to get money from one of 2 sources. You're either going to have the money saved or you're going to go to the credit card, right? And so we want to get you in a position where you never ever have to get into debt again. But savings is the urgent element in your financial plan. Okay, so we've already been talking about the importance or the urgent element in your financial plan is savings. 1/3 of your income, that's a wonderful goal. You can build on it from there. So when we talk about the foundational pieces of financial planning, we're talking about two very important parts. One is cash for emergencies, right, that are sure to come our way. And the other is protection. We don't often even like to talk about it. The thought of a catastrophic event, the thought of mom or dad passing away early is unthinkable. And yet when we're talking about financial planning, we're talking about planning what could go wrong. And we're planning for those events in advance. And so when we're talking about insurance, which is the protection part of this, let's go to the circle called human life value, and maybe I can explain in more depth. Human life value represents the economic value that a person is in their family, whether it's father or mother, the major breadwinner in a family, whoever it is that is earning that income has great value economically. By the way, they're irreplaceable. I mean, who could replace a mother or a father, right? An aunt or an uncle or a grandparent who's taking care of you. They're irreplaceable. But financially, there is a value to them, and we call that value human life value. So for example, if we take this idea of someone earning $30,000 a year, what is their human life value? Well, we ask the next question is how many years do they plan to work? If it's a young person, let's just take that as an example. Someone is 40 years of work still ahead of them. Their human life value is $1.2 million. Right? $1.2 million. So this is what that family over a 40-year period, if they never got another raise, would tend to lose over that next 30-year period. So you would ask the question, should that person have $1.2 million of life insurance? Well, you could make that case, right? The goal is for many families is to maybe pay off the debt at someone's passing or to replace the income. So maybe we can't do the whole 1.2 million, but maybe we could do 800,000. We could do that. And if we think about how much money is needed to replace that income, if I had $800,000 and I could earn 4% on that money, I could earn $32,000 a year. And voila, I've replaced that $30,000 of income that I was having before. That is the beauty of human life value. And now I'm going to tell you in a minute how you might pay for it. So one of the questions would be, how would you even, how do we allocate in a very basic sense? If you've not done any financial planning before, where do we, we're trying to put money away into savings. We're trying to get some life insurance, build some basics. But how do we allocate? How much could we put away? Here's the first question for you. How much money could you save every month if you really wanted to, and you could do it in your sleep? It would stretch you a little bit, but you know that you could do it every single month. Is it $200 a month? Is it $700 a month? Is it $1,000 a month? What is that number? Well, let's just say as an example that we could save, you said you could save $500 a month, every month, and you could do it in your sleep. If you had no savings and you had no life insurance, I would say to you, that's where you begin. But what should you allocate? If savings really is the urgent element in your financial plan, then we want to take, of this $500, we would like to take 80% of that money. 80% is $400 a month, and put that into your savings every single month. And then we're going to take the other $100 a month, the remaining 20%, and whatever that buys, we're going to buy enough life insurance that can take care of. That will be the beginning steps that you'll take. So we allocate how much money can I save every month? We want to get this to 10,000. 80% is going to go into savings. 20% is going to go into the insurance. And this is the very beginning steps that we take to build that solid foundation upon which we can build upon for the future.